Welcome back, everyone. We're diving deep into Vincent Kane's Champions of the Gods today.
Oh, I'm so excited for this one.
Me too. Right from the start, I don't know, just floored by the scale of his imagination.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, this isn't your typical heroes and villains story. It's cosmic.
Right.
Kane drops us right into this huge battle, spills onto Earth. All these ancient powers awaken, and we get champions of all these different belief systems going head to head.
You are in for a wild ride with this book. What gets me is how Kane, he blends these mythologies with like crazy action, but then there's this social commentary woven in, like really makes you think.
Yeah, it's a lot to unpack. So let's start with the event that kind of kicks everything off, right?
Right.
The fallen god. So imagine this, a piece of I guess you could call it a celestial being. Kane calls it a phantom god, crashes into the Pacific Ocean.
Oh, wow.
And the world, well, basically chaos.
Makes sense.
Wars break out, societies start falling apart. It's like humanity's right on the edge.
Right from the start, Kane sets the stakes so high. Like it taps into that fear of the unknown,
Yeah. Like even now in our modern world, something we can't even comprehend could just mess everything up.
Exactly.
And then in all this chaos, we get introduced to these characters,
Okay.
the chosen champions. Such a diverse cast, and they're chosen by different deities to, fight for what they believe in.
Yeah, and their stories, they all tie into the bigger picture in such an intricate way. Like, take Ashley.
Oh, yeah.
LGBTQ plus activist caught in a riot. Time just freezes.
Oh,
And she's whisked away by goddess Lena.
that's got to be terrifying.
Right, imagine that terror. And then boom, she's given this nanosuit that can shapeshift. Like she becomes this symbol of resistance.
So cool. It's like she goes from victim to this powerful force.
Yeah. And it's not just physical power, right? It's like she's battling against these societal norms, all this prejudice.
It's a lot to carry.
Definitely. And then there's Yusuf. His path is way darker.
Really right.
Jihadi youth, consumed by revenge, training to be a suicide bomber.
That's heavy.
Kane doesn't shy away from the tough stuff, extremism, how belief can be twisted.
Yeah.
But even in Yusuf's story, there's a glimmer of hope. He meets this mysterious figure on Mount Hira. Most think it's the Prophet Muhammad.
Oh, wow.
Makes them question everything, like a turning point, right?
Yeah.
Even with fanaticism, there can be redemption.
Right. And then we meet Nishi, a Hindu daughter just trying to save her father who's sick.
Yeah.
Her story really shows how personal struggles and like divine intervention collide.
Oh, for sure. Like her encounter with Lord Krishna, super poignant. He gives her this huge responsibility.
Wow.
The fate of the world, while she's dealing with this fear of losing her father.
Like even with all this cosmic stuff happening, our own problems don't just disappear.
They don't. And then rounding out our champions, there's James, an evangelical pastor.
Okay.
Battling demons, yeah, but also battling people who just don't believe what he does. The scene where he subdues a priest.
With Holy Ghost lightning, right?
Yes. Unforgettable. It's visually stunning how Kane writes it. But it makes you think about violence, even in religion.
Yeah, blind faith, all of that.
Kane isn't afraid of these hard questions.
No, he really isn't.
He gives us these complex characters, all driven by their beliefs, and makes us think about the consequences of their actions.
On a global scale, too.
Huge stakes.
The stakes are huge. They're all fighting for the Glade of Perception, this ancient artifact.
Right, the one that can shape what everyone believes.
Can you imagine that kind of power to influence not just one person, but the whole world's thoughts?
Crazy. And the champions, they have to work together against the Nesher, this monster that could destroy everything.
But only one can control the Glade in the end. So much tension.
It's a brilliant setup by Kane. It makes you ask yourself, what would you do? Choose your own beliefs or find common ground, even with people who think completely differently?
Tough question. And then it gets even crazier. This journey into the third plane,
Yeah.
not exactly a walk in the park. This realm is ruled by Lord Grobu, a goblin lord. And he settles disputes with, well, games. Not your average games, though.
Remember that scene where he uses his son's heart as a game piece? Betting against a demon lord?
Yeah, it's messed up.
So messed up, but so fascinating. Shows how brutal this realm is.
And then there's this forest, right?
Yeah.
Tan-colored, and the leaves are carnivorous.
Yeah.
I mean, Kane's world building is incredible.
Truly.
Beautiful, scary, always reminds you that the champions aren't in Kansas anymore.
And in this crazy place, the Glade is revealed.
Okay.
But each champion sees it differently. Like it's an object from their own religion.
Whoa, really?
Highlights how subjective faith is. How we see truth depends on our perceptions.
Mind-blowing. If something as powerful as the Glade can be seen so differently, what does that say about, well, reality itself?
A question for the ages, right? And Kane doesn't give easy answers. He wants us to think about faith, our limitations, the possibility of multiple truths.
That's deep. And then things escalate even further with the Apex Nesher.
Ugh, this
And
thing.
under Nesher, but supercharged.
It comes from the merging of the first Nesher with its, true form. There's so much more to this threat.
Yeah.
The action is intense. The champions are struggling. We lose Ashley and Nishi.
So sad.
Yusuf he's manipulated by the Apex Nesher and becomes this feral, bloodthirsty...
It's heartbreaking. Like watching everything unravel, the champions facing their weaknesses and all this responsibility.
And just when it seems hopeless, there's a twist. Okay, so we left off, the champions are basically screwed,
Yeah,
right?
things were looking pretty bleak.
But then out of nowhere, this higher power steps in.
A real Deus Ex Machina moment.
Right. But it works. It doesn't feel like a cheat. It actually makes the story even more layered, you know?
I agree. It makes you think, are these characters really in control or are they just playing parts in some, cosmic play?
Exactly. And because of this intervention, we get that final showdown with the Apex Nesher.
So intense. James, just fueled by grief, but also this unwavering faith, he steps up.
It's heroic, but also so sad.
Oh, yeah. He sacrifices himself.
It shows Kane's skill, how he writes characters. They're flawed, but so human.
That's what gets me about Kane's writing. It's dark, violent, shows the consequences of these cosmic battles.
Yeah.
But there's always that glimmer of hope, of redemption.
Totally. And that's where the light Apex Nesher comes in. Rises from the ashes of the bad one.
So cool.
Uses its power to heal, to bring peace. Such a reversal shows the power of forgiveness.
The world is saved, but at a cost. Ashley and Nishi are gone. Yusuf is messed up. James as well.
A bittersweet ending. It makes you think about what victory really costs.
Throughout this whole book, Kane's just brilliant. The world building, the characters, the writing, it's all there.
He's a master at balancing those things. Mythology, action, social commentary. He doesn't preach, he just lets you figure it out.
Yeah, and he doesn't shy away from tough topics. Religious extremism, politics, identity, searching for meaning. It's all in there.
Take Ashley's story. She could have been just a symbol, but Kane gives her depth, shows her struggles.
Right, she's not just a superhero, she's a person.
And Yusuf, he's a victim who becomes radicalized, driven by hate. But Kane doesn't make him a monster.
He helps us understand what led him there.
Yeah, it's a reminder that everyone, even people who do terrible things, are shaped by their experiences.
And Nishi, she's trying to balance taking care of her family with this divine calling.
A tough spot to be in.
Her struggles with faith, her sacrifice, it shows the human cost of this whole cosmic war.
And James, even with all that faith, he's not perfect. He judges, but he learns.
He becomes more open-minded.
Right. It shows we can all grow, even when we're sure we're right.
And the Apex Nesher, it's like this representation of the worst parts of us.
But even in that, there's hope. The light Apex Nesher shows that even the most destructive things can change.
It's a powerful message. Then there's that ending. Lord Grobu gets the Glade.
Uh-oh.
Doesn't feel settled, does it?
No, the fight's not really over.
Makes you wonder, what's Grobu going to do with that kind of power?
And what will the champions do to get it back?
It makes you think about power itself. Can anyone, even with good intentions, handle that much power?
Heavy stuff. It's what makes this book so good. It's not just an adventure. It's about us, about human nature.
Kane makes us think, makes us feel, and leaves us wanting more. I'm still thinking about Grobu with the Glade, you know?
Yeah, it's a cliffhanger that really sticks with you.
Like, what happens next? It's not a good feeling.
Right. We've seen what the Nesher could do, and this Glade can shape beliefs.
Imagine that power in the hands of someone like Grobu.
It doesn't bear thinking about, really. A world where everyone is forced to believe the same thing.
Scary thought. Makes you wonder, who should have that kind of power?
Yeah, is anyone really equipped to handle something like that?
Kane really makes you question these big ideas. Leadership, responsibility, the whole thing.
But it's not just the philosophy, right? His writing is just so good.
The way he builds these worlds, you feel like you're there.
From the creepy forest to Grobu's palace, it's all so detailed.
And the way he describes the champion's powers, you can see it happening.
Oh, absolutely. Like when Ashley, she turns into this giant bird to save Yusuf.
So cool.
Or James fighting the Apex Nesher with his lightning. It's like a movie in your head.
Speaking of movies, wouldn't this book make an awesome film?
Oh, definitely. The action, the special effects, the emotions, it's all there.
And it would spark so many conversations about faith, about power, about what we believe.
That's what great stories do, right? They transport you, make you question things.
Champions of the Gods does all of that. It stays with you long after you're done reading.
Makes you think about your own beliefs, your own place in the world.
Vincent Kane, he's a master storyteller.
Couldn't agree more. If you haven't read it, do yourself a favor and check it out.
So that wraps up our deep dive into Champions of the Gods.
Hope you enjoyed it.
Until next time, everyone. Keep those imaginations going.